Wow, does my Sylvari just blend into the background? Hello everyone, welcome back to this video of the Fan-Druid rework. I know I had said that I would be making my Fan Elite specializations. However, I was overcome with inspiration doing this, mostly from the official Guild Wars 2 forums on the Ranger subreddit, or not subreddit, but subforum. A lot of people have their own creative iterations of the Druid, and I was just inspired by them. So I wanted to make this very small video in the grand scope of the videos that I'm making for my Fan Elite specs for, of course, Expansion 3, which I'll be getting to right after I finish this video. So be on the lookout for those. But this is also going to be a lot of fun if you like speculation and balance and class design changes and wishes in general. So with this said, let's jump right into my fan-made Druid rework. First and foremost, we'll start with the most logical starting point, and that is with the Druid's weapon, the staff. I guess I'll just go through my recommended changes, or what I would like to see. So for the staff's auto attack, it's solar beam. What I would do is I would widen the beam slightly so it would cover just a slightly larger width when you're healing at range, and additionally I would apply the healing in a small radius around you of 180. Now I'm not sure if this healing would actually heal you or just continue to heal allies, but that's just a slight issue that could go either way. For the second skill, Astral Wisp, I would just have this healing skill heal allies as it passes through them when it's going towards its target. So it's going to get that dual function, healing allies when it travels to the target, and continue to heal allies when it circles the enemy. For the third skill, I'd have no change. With the fourth skill, Vine Surge, I would just give this a slight damage boost, maybe just a little something to, bump it up a little bit. And then for the fifth skill, Sublime Conversion, this is where I would be a little bit more creative. I would also have this skill have a flip over ability where you can detonate the Sublime Conversion into a healing pond to have a little bit of a larger radius to heal allies and remove conditions. So you'd have that brief window if you wanted to just detonate the skill and have this second, quote-unquote, second skill. Or you could also just leave Sublime Conversion up. It would, have more play in various scenarios, one would say. Next up, I'll be touching on the Druid's utility skills, Glyphs. So we'll start with the heal, of course. This is Glyph of Rejuvenation. I would have this be changed to where you can now cast it at a target location where you're going to maintain your self-heal, but any of your healing to allies could be targeted at a further range of 1200. I just find it very strange that a lot of the Druid's glyphs, in fact all of them except the elite skill, are completely centered around the Druid, which would force them to get into melee range, but they're a ranged healer. They have a staff. Even their profession mechanic has multiple ranged healing options, and I just think that giving some of the glyphs ranged capabilities where you can target them at a distance would be very beneficial for the Druid. So that was a healing skill. Next up, you'll see this theme continued. We have Glyph of Alignment. I would boost its damage just a touch, and additionally I would give it the ability to be casted at range. Glyph of Equality, no change. Glyph of Unity, I would increase the radius of the tether to enemies and allies to 450 instead of what it's currently at, which I believe is 300, or maybe a little bit more, but it's definitely not 450. Next utility is Glyph of Tides. Once again, I would have this be changed to be casted at range at 100, 1200, 1200 units. And then finally for the elite skill, I would have this when you fully complete the channel, because it's a very long channel, you would gain an additional heal for yourself. Nothing super chunky, but just to have you feel satisfied and reward you for completing it and not be interrupted or stunned or get out of it. And additionally, I would want to see some of the spell effects for the glyphs be reintroduced what they were at when the druid was first unveiled to us. I felt like the spell effects there were much more grandiose and fun to look at. I feel like they've just become really small and muted now. And I'll have clips of that too, but that's what I would like to see from the glyphs. Moving on, let's talk about the celestial avatar form and my changes that I would like to see applied to this profession mechanic. So as we all know, the grand pool for celestial avatar is a percentage. You heal or damage to 100% in order to use it. However, when it is in use, it does not deplete by a percentage. It has a limited 15-second duration. What I would do is change it to where every second you lose 6.5% of the pool, but while you're in celestial avatar, your healing will replenish the supply by 1.5%, and using a glyph will replenish it by 5%. This is similar to, if you recall, the change that they made to berserkers, where you could extend the duration of your berserking mode. In this iteration, you're extending the duration of your celestial avatar mode by healing and by using a glyph, with the glyphs offering a bit more of a bump than just baseline healing. However, I would have a maximum cap to this, to 26 seconds. With the percentage reduction, with the percentage that it would deplete at, it would last 16 seconds. So I would also just, it gets bumped up just by a second if you don't do anything. However, you can only extend it to 26 seconds. It will eventually kick you out. I don't want to see people necessarily playing in Celestial Avatar for 2 minutes. I mean, I thought about it and I wouldn't be mad at it, but I just think for the overall balance and health of the game, it seems like that would probably be the best option. That was a lot to cover for just the mechanic, but now I'm going to touch on the changes I'd like to see to the stances, or not stances, but to actual skills. So for the very first one, we have Cosmic Ray. I would change this to allow it to bounce to other allies when it heals one person. So this ability already heals 5 people. So if it heals one person, the beam will bounce, as one would say, in a 240 radius, but only to one person. So this would theoretically make this skill affect 10 people if the setting and the scenario and number of players is correct, if they're all in very close proximity. Second change I would have is to Seed of Life, increase the condition removal to 2, but I would also increase the cooldown to 2.5 seconds. I think Seed of Life is extremely strong, more so than Cosmic Ray, and that's my biggest issue currently, is that you only really use Seed of Life and you don't want to use Cosmic Ray at all. I use it because I feel bad for the skill, because Seed of Life does exactly what Cosmic Ray does, so much better, with a larger radius and a blind, and it only has like a 1 second cooldown, so it's gonna come back. You just Seed of Life, Lunar Impact, Seed of Life, Rejuvenating Tides, Seed of Life again, and by that time everything's come off cooldown to just repeat that, and there's no use to use Cosmic Ray. Next, for my third ability, I would change Lunar Impact. I would reduce the radius to 300 instead of 360, just to have that stun be a little less punishing and aggressive in terms of its overall radius. However, I would increase the healing by 15% to compensate for this reduction in stun ability. Skill 4 is Rejuvenating Tides. I would increase the radius to 300, up from 240, to have it affect a little bit of a wider area. I think this would be a nice change, a nice little buff. And the Natural Conversions, I would just increase the damage of it by 10%. And those are all my suggested changes to the Celestial Avatar mechanic in and of itself, and the skills that Celestial Avatar grant the Druid. Moving on, we're going over some traits. So for the traits, I've left all minor traits the same, and we're going to start out with the major adept traits. At the top, we have Druid Clarity. I'd keep this the same, but integrate part of the Celestial Shadow trait into this. So you would grant super speed to allies if conditions are cleansed when you enter Druidic Clarity. This could also just be grant super speed when you enter. Either way is fine by me. Next Adept, we have Cultivated Synergy. I would keep this the same. Primal Echoes. We have is the Staff trait. Staff skills gain reduced recharge, but instead of stunning them, because I think the stun is actually kind of bad for balancing, and especially for PvP, because you can't predict it, you can't see it, and it's instant. I instead would allow the Astral Wisp skill to gain a second charge. This would improve the healing aspect, and maybe putting Astral Wisp on multiple targets. So those are the adepts. Moving on to the major master traits, we have Celestial Shadow. I've readjusted this trait. So upon leaving Celestial Avatar, you will leave a black hole to immobilize foes. Additionally, you gain stealth and stability when leaving. This is a bit more active. You're leaving something that is a bit more damaging, a bit more detrimental to enemies. And I should have mentioned this before I started, but the top line is more about the damaging slash debilitating playstyle for the top line. The middle line is healing, and the bottom line is utility for the self and weapon enhancements. So that's Celestial Shadow at the top. Next, Major Master, we have Verdant Etchings. This is the same, however, I would clarify that the glyphs, the glyphs, but the Seed of Life, the Celestial Avatar form skill 2, will spawn at the glyph's location. Considering in this rendition of the Druid, some glyphs can be cast at range. And then finally, the Major Master trait Natural Stride, I've left the same. Now for the finale, we have the Major Grandmaster traits. I have repositioned them, so the Hidden Ancient Seed one is now at the top, taking the place of Grace of the Land, and it's been renamed to Nature's Wrath. Natural Convergence's cast time is reduced to 1.5 seconds. This is the Celestial Avatar 5th skill. So you're going to get all the same effects, but it is cast much faster and it completes much faster. Additionally, while casting Natural Convergence, you send out surges of vines to cripple and bleed enemies in a larger area around you. So I imagine this as being the natural, or the vine surges will spawn outside of the radius of Natural Convergence and surge forward in their direction. This would kind of blast out in every direction in a circle, but only 6 vines. So it'd be one northward, one westward, one eastward, one southward, and then a couple just northwest, northeast, all that stuff. And it would be channeled as well. Next, Major Grandmaster, I have Lingering Light. Healing you apply in Celestial Avatar form is significantly increased by 50%. That's the same. However, I got rid of the blind stuff and the self-heal, and I replaced it with, when leaving a Celestial Avatar form, you leave wisp spirits to attach themselves to allies in a larger area around you, healing them for a short duration after. I think this is much more in line with the Druid in terms of its healing, and also the name of the trait. The Lingering Wisp attaches and heals the target for 300 healing every second for 5 seconds. So in total, that's 1,500 healing in a 600 radius. So it'd be much more supportive. And then finally, we have Grace of the Land. Same. However, I would also introduce this mechanic if it's not already a mechanic. When you enter Celestial Avatar form, you will Pulse Might immediately as well, because it's kind of like a Celestial Avatar skill. You would think that going into Celestial Avatar would apply Might as well, but I don't think it does right now, but I could be wrong. And those are all the trait changes that I would make for Druid. Yay. This is the outro now. Thank you everybody so much for watching this, if you have watched it in its entirety all the way through. This is of course for fun. This is my iteration of the Druid. I implore anyone who wants to maybe read more about fan changes and fan suggestions and just general suggestions to Druid, go over to the official Guild Wars 2 forum. In the Ranger sub form, you'll see a couple posts. I remember seeing one about having pets replaced with spirits or ancient, wisp spirits. I don't think they're going to necessarily do that, and that is so much more complex than what I had come up with in my mind. These are more just a few changes to a couple of the skills and traits that we currently have without necessarily doing a complete rework, other than maybe the celestial avatar form and the way that its pool depletes. So once again, thank you everyone for watching. This was more for fun. Comment down below on your response to my thoughts. Leave your suggestions about rangers in the comments as well, and I will catch you all in the next video. Bye everyone, have a wonderful day.